after the great celebration last week, always on the first Sunday of Holy and Great Lent, the Feast of Orthodoxy, the Triumph of Orthodoxy. Always on the second Sunday of Great Lent, we honour a certain saint. A saint who we know is called Saint Gregory of Palamas, who was the Archbishop of Thessaloniki. So why on this specific Sunday, on the second Sunday of Great Lent, do we honour this great saint? This saint which we honour as not only a great saint, but we regard him as a father of the church. We have his writings and his sermons. His sermons which were so perfect, which had literally engulfed the entire Orthodox faith and made it alive. And it's exactly for this reason that we celebrate today the feast day of Saint Gregory of Palamas. Because he not only taught us with words and with wisdom how to know God, but he taught us that in order to know God, we need to be able to experience him. And then when we experience God, then we are able to see him face to face. This is our faith. Our faith should be something which is alive. And sometimes, when I think of how truly alive our faith is, I can't help a little bit but fall into a little bit of despair. Despair because I know that we have a true treasure. And any of you here who have experienced that and know your Orthodox faith, because I know that many of you here today know that, acknowledge, yes, that Orthodoxy truly is a hidden treasure, and that it is a living faith. But why do I feel a little bit disappointed sometimes? Because although it is such a living faith, it's one that brings life into someone, so many people, so many of us, I should say, disregard it. And they go through the motions of everything. So they'll go through the motions of, yes, being baptized in the church, being married in the church, come to church Easter and Christmas, and then eventually be buried by a priest as well. And that's going through the motions. And that's not orthodox. You're missing out on a lot. And I can say that that is a greater percentage of Orthodox who live like that than those who truly know the value of our faith. Say you bought a TV, a new television, and I'm not very technologically advanced, so excuse me, I'm going to try to hype it up. This huge plasma, okay, HD, 3D, with all the latest technology, whatever you have, you bought it, right? It's the latest one. And on it you can get satellite and all these channels and whatever. And you bring it, and you put it in your living room, and you dump it there. What do? You don't just sit in front of it and expect it to work. In order to appreciate this big thing that you just bought, you need to plug it in. It needs to be plugged in. Another example, like that living room that every walk has, that living room that nobody ever uses. My mum's here today. That living room that's right next to the entrance of the door, so everybody walks in, and they see that living room, they walk past it, but nobody ever uses it. We should rename that room the Orthodox room. I mean, a funny room. What's the point of it? People say to us, I was baptized. Okay, you were baptized. What did you get out of your baptism? Do you remember? You're an Orthodox. Fair enough. But does that guarantee your salvation just because you were baptized? Does that allow you to experience God? Yes, it does allow you to experience God. But how are you working for it? How are you making God alive in your own life? And it's possible. Here I'm going to read from you a quote from St. Gregory of Palamas. He says, every day we should stand in awe of Him, as He is always with us, and do what is pleasing before Him. If we are unable to perceive Him with our physical eyes, we can, if we are watchful, to see Him continually with the eyes of our understanding, and not just see Him, but reap great benefits from Him. This vision destroys all sin, demolishes all evil, and drives away everything bad. It gives birth to purity and dispassion, and bestows on us eternal life. That's what St. Gregory tells us. To see not with the eyes of our physical body, but with the eyes of our soul, and to be able to let God into our hearts. And there are practical ways of allowing us to do this. We're not perfect. We're all sinful. Some more than others. A lot of us feel like we're unworthy of God. We may feel like that, but that doesn't mean that God doesn't want us. Some of you here in this church today have a very interesting past. A past which we could say is not so holy. But you're here today. And you've been here for a long time, practicing and worshipping God. Because why? Because you found God. And you accepted Him because God accepted you first as you were. And this is the calling of God. Come as you are. Not as a perfect person, not as an angel, not as a saint. Come as you are, and I will be the one to transform you. This is how we make God alive. We begin from in our home, doing practical things. How much time do we spend praying at home? Do we give Him at least, out of that 24 hours a day, at least 5 minutes when we can retire and pray to Him, thank Him, and ask Him for forgiveness, or ask Him for strength, whatever it is, to speak to Him. There are prayer books for those who need guidance. Prayer books, prayers that take 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the evening that we can read. How often do we come to church? Why do we need to come to church? We need to come to church because we are one body. We're not individuals. God did not make us as separate people. He made us separate but united. And church emphasizes our unity through love. And it's at church where we receive the blessed sacrament, the sacrament of the body and blood of Christ. How often do we receive this gift, because we call it a gift? When the priest comes out and says, with faith and fear of God, come and draw near. What he's actually saying to you is, come and receive Him who created you and wants to be a part of you. And how many times do we turn our back on that? How many times are we afraid to go to the sacrament of confession so that we can receive some sort of spiritual guidance in our life? And so that as we go to a doctor when we're physically sick, the same way we go to confession, and our spiritual doctor helps us to find healing for our soul. Our church, brothers and sisters, is a hospital of healing and of cleansing. And here we come to be transformed by the grace of Jesus Christ. Some of you here know what it means to pray. To retire at the end of the day when everybody has gone to sleep, and to be able to shut the TV and the house is quiet, and all that's left is you and God. And you sit in front of your icons and you're able to speak with Him. And once you're finished speaking to Him, then you stop speaking. And then after you stop speaking, God begins to speak. And then a voice which is unheard, you can't hear this voice, but you can feel it in your heart and you don't want to leave from the place where you're sitting. And all of a sudden, tears start streaming down your eyes, and you don't know why you're crying. You're not sad, but something has touched your heart, and you know that at that moment, God is telling you, I am here. And it's not just me saying it. You're saying it, you may be a crazy man, you're a priest, and you have to say it. But I know that a lot of you here have experienced the grace of God in your life. And that's why you're here, and that's why you keep coming back. There is a reason why we keep coming back. And there is a reason why we perform the liturgy, the same words, week after week, year after year, exactly the same words, and we don't get sick of them. What is it that's drawing us close to God? What is it that's drawing us back to those words again and again? Shouldn't we by now be sick of them? Shouldn't we by now reform and change the liturgy and change these words? They've been the same for the past 2,000 years. And yet every time we come, and every time we say these words, something in our heart feels it, and we're full of joy. And we become like drunk people, saying, what is it? And then you know that God exists, and you cannot deny His existence. And if we don't experience that as Orthodox Christians, then we have to question ourselves and say, why? Why haven't I felt the grace of God in my life? What is it that maybe I'm doing wrong? What can I change? Because I can tell you something now. If I wanted to be popular, if I wanted to make money, if I wanted people to like me, I would not have become a priest. I'm not that much of an idiot. Because I know that if I want to be popular, the last thing I would want to do is become a priest. In a world that is so against Christianity, that pushes Christ away. But the reason why I'm here today, and I'm 30 years old, and I've dedicated my life to Jesus Christ, is because I know that somehow He has come and has changed and touched my life. I could have done anything I wanted in life, but I chose to become a priest. I chose to follow Him and give my life up for Him. And I know a lot of you have done the same, even though you're not priests, even though you're not monks, even though you're not nuns. No, you're lay people, but you still have a relationship with God, and it's still possible. Remember one thing. As much as you may not like God, as much as you may be angry with Him for whatever reason, God, above everything else, loves you and me. And He loves you more than anyone else could ever love you. And what He does only for the salvation of our souls and not to destroy. So this time in Lent, brothers and sisters, is a time to come again to Him, who calls us over and over again, and to open up our hearts to Him, to be able to expose ourselves entirely to Him and say, Lord, into your hands I place my spirit. Bless me, save me, and have mercy on me. Amen.